Hi guys, this is Barbara again. This is uh, my next video. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here, and we are going to talk about. Um, Let me get out of here. I don't want to get. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of here, and we're gonna talk about the Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll. I hope some of you saw my last video. Let me see here, because I have to log into here. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so we're going to do, the Mr. Hyde and Dr. Traits. Okay, so we're gonna go in just a minute, folks. Let me see. Mr. Let's see. I'm trying to get this pull up, so just bear with me, folks. Okay, so how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing okay out there. And you're having a good Sunday. You're having a good Sunday out there. Okay, so we're gonna go. Let me see here. So we're going to go and look at those traits, and I'm going to show them as soon as I put them up here. So let me see here, because this is part of the domestic violence. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this up here. Just give me a sec. Oh, crap. Okay, so let me point this out. Okay, so I found it. I just had to. So now we're going to talk about the Mr. Hyde and Dr. Traits. Okay, and this is where you have the honeymoon, and so you have the money. So I'm trying to find it. Let me see here if I can find the traits, and then we'll talk about them. Let me see here. Okay, let me see. Now, when you're in an abusive relationship, let me pull this in here. Getting this thing loaded up. Okay. There are two sides to your partner. Okay. So we have two sides. So the one side that you'll see is that you'll have the honeymoon state and all that. So let me see here. So let me put this up here. So we have the Dr. Hyde and Mr. or Mrs. Hyde, or Dr. Jekyll, I'm sorry. So it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or Mrs. Hyde, because it can go the other way around. You hear that a lot from victims talking about abusive partners, me included, that they have two sides. So they have a wonderful side, like they're just so dynamite with you, and they'll it's like the honeymoon phase. They'll say all these nice comments. Oh, you're beautiful, this and that. You're sexy. That's the honeymoon stage. So that is one of the traits. But then they also have another side to them. The other side to them is the flip coin. I think it's Mr. Hyde. So it's where they start putting you down, and then the abuse starts happening again. But anyways, so I'm going to read this to you guys. So it says, the wonderful Dr. Jekyll to the darkest Dr. Hyde. If you like, my ex did. Okay, so they got the traits here. So let me see here. And feel free to ask me questions, because that's, really great. When we first met, he love bombed me with full attention, so he paid attention to this person. declared his undying love for me. He promised uh, marriage, babies, and a long, happy life, all within the first few weeks. It was must have been what insecurities wanted to hear. It sucked me in. So sometimes, folks, if you get into these relationships, like they'll love you. They'll show their undying love, um, and they suck in, and then the victim may have insecurities, and they get suckered into it. So basically, they get sucked into them, professing their dying love and that they're going to be happy and have babies, marriage, that type of thing. That's like the honeymoon stage, what they call it, Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll. Okay, so um, I thought I found, and then I'll read this one again. So it says, I thought I found what I've been looking for. Someone to care, someone to love, care for me, and grow old with me. I trusted him. I let go and allowed myself to be vulnerable with him. So sometimes a victim will trust that person when they're and they get vulnerable to the abuser, to the batterer. Then I met Mr. Hyde. Okay, it was a brief glimpse at first and shocked me, but it was brief enough for me to think that I imagined him, and brief enough for me to minimize the unacceptable behavior I just witnessed, especially when Dr. Jekyll offered profuse apologies for him and brought me flowers. Okay, now this one I have to explain to you. Okay, so sometimes a batter will say, well, it wasn't that bad, or I didn't mean to, and I'm sorry, or they minimize it, and you pretty much accept the behavior, you accept their apologies, and then they'll profusely apologize you, and they do, they will shower you with gifts. So that's how that's written. It's pretty much how that's written. They'll shower you with gifts and stuff. So let me read down here. So so then we got what I'll do is, I will open up the panel if anybody has questions. Let me know. You can contact me. I will put my email at the About Me section in my profile. You can contact me and ask me more questions about this. Okay, so then, now this one says, and let me see. I was just over here. Let me see. Okay. See, that's what my ex did do. My exes did. They would minimize the behavior, and I would fall for it, and they would shower with me gifts. So basically, I would also make excuses for the behavior as well. So there's that. Okay, so then this one says, it is a sort of emotional bait and switch. The romantic, wonderful person hooks and wheels you in, then bam, there's a sudden switch to his moody dark side. But no sooner do you get a glimpse of that, it switches back. It's all wine and roses one more time. Okay, so let me explain this to you. Now with the batter, they'll go from the honeymoon stage, oh, I love you, you'll have that makeup sex, whole 9 yards, and then they will switch back, okay? When the tension will start to build, and it'll build, and it'll build, and then finally the explosion happens, and then they start abusing you. So that's what that means on that one. And they keep switching it back and forth. You never know, one way or the other, which person they're going to be. You just never know. It's a day-to-day thing, and that's how my exes were that I was involved with. So, and then this one says, I didn't fall in love with a violent man. I fell in love with a man who later became violent towards me. There's a difference. It's important distinction to understand. So, okay, they didn't, okay, what this person is that they didn't fall in love. They didn't fall in love with the violent man. But later on, he became violent. So, he wasn't violent in the beginning. And usually with batters, they're not violent in the beginning. And sometimes when you're in the relationship, it can, happen along the way. As you're in that relationship, it can become violent. So that's pretty much what that is. Okay, and then it says, from then on, it becomes a cycle of seeing one, then the other, 2 and 4, but never know which one you'll get on any given hour or day. It throws you off balance. So yes, it will. You never know what. So what is the saying? You never know with the batter. You don't know every day. It's an off balance thing, and like it says here, you're walking on eggshells, never knowing what will lead to Mr. Hyde coming out. All you know is you'll never want to see that side again. So you're always walking on eggshells, and what I mean is walking on eggshells. You're trying to do nothing that will upset the batterer. You just feel like unease. So you're just pretty much walking on eggshells, and because you don't want to see that dark side of the abuser either. And that's pretty much what I went through with both my exes. I was afraid of them even coming home. I would get a sickening pit in my stomach because I was afraid of them coming home, because I never knew on a day-to-day basis what this person would be like. It was just a constant thing. I never knew. It was just like, are they going to yell at me today? Or are they going to come walking in the door? Are they going to be in a good mood? I never knew. So there's that. Okay, so then, and here's the thing. Okay, this is why we stay with abusive partners. Okay, we are desperate to get the wonderful Dr. Jekyll back. So Dr. Hyde is the dark person in the abuser, and Dr. Jekyll is the loving person in a batterer. Okay, so it says here, the side we saw when we first met. Okay, so we see the romantic side. He's got his undying love for you, when you first met. We spend all our energy in futile search for it, the nicer side. So you spend all your waking days with this person. They love you. They're complimenting you. Pretty much, that's pretty much the Dr. Jekyll side of it. The person we fell in love with, we did everything we can to praise Hyde, to let Dr. Jekyll give us some special time. It becomes like an addiction, craving for that initial high again. Okay, so we don't want to see the Dr. Hyde. We want to see the Jekyll side, because they're that loving. The Dr. Hyde, again, I said, it's the dark side. So, and then it says here, the truth is there ain't 2 sides. And it says here, now you can find this. I'll have to get the link, but you just go under Google, and if you want more information, you could go and Google it, and you can Google Dr. Hyde and Mr. Jekyll domestic violence, and it'll give you a whole information on it. Okay, so the truth, this one says, so the truth is there ain't 2 sides to an abusive man or woman. Now, let me explain something to you folks. Okay, it's not always a woman that gets abused, okay? It can be both ways. It can be a man getting abused, but usually a man will not report it, okay? Because they're afraid. Sometimes it's their pride. They're just afraid to report it. But a man can be abused just as well as a woman. It can be the flip coin side. So, and then this says, there are one and the same person, understanding this way was key to my recovery. So that was key to the recovery. So we're going to go down here. Okay, I convinced my exes how had two sizes. Okay, the man I fell in love with. Okay, with and the damaged man that revealed himself later. Okay, so basically this is saying, folks out there, women or men. Okay, they are not, okay, there are two sides. Okay, so on this, you see, they're pretty much going to say that's the man they fell in love with, and now the man is damaged, revealing themselves later. So basically, that's they fell in love with the loving side of that person. And then the damaged man he later reveals that he's a really, an abuser, putting you down and all that. So that's basically what that's saying. And then the latter was the moody and the abusive side. So they're very moody. Okay, let me get this straight, folks. A batter is very moody. Okay, so I'm going to get into that about the batterer and the victim. Okay, so we are going to get into that subject, but usually a batterer is very, very moody, and they have an abusive side. Okay, but on the other hand, they don't sometimes show that in front of people. It just varies. And then it says, the one he himself needed rescue from. The man I fell in love with wasn't blamed for the abuse. So basically, the abuser will blame the victim. They will not take ownership for what they do. It's like if you didn't do this, I wouldn't do A, B, and C. So they basically blame the victim. I suffered that darker side wasn't the real him. Okay, so here the victim knew that wasn't the real person that they fell in love with, pretty much. I thought if I just loved him more, if only I could prove to him I was worthy of him, then that would be all he needed to nourish the good side and blemish his bad side forever. So basically, they're trying to please him so that he'll go back to being the good person. So they're gonna go. They want that banished side, that dark and abusive side to go away. So they're gonna do whatever they can to please him, to get his approval, so that they're worthy of him. That's the victim. Okay. And then this one says, but if I seen him as I see him now, things might have been different. The darker damage source wasn't a side to him. It was him. The loving romantic side was more a mask he learned it to wear to hide the facts. So basically, this person, abusers usually, and I'll say abuser, okay, abusers will show that romantic side at first, okay? They will show that romantic side. So they will not unmask the other side, the dark side. They won't unmask it at first. So you don't even know. And like I said, it's later on in the relationship, they're loving and they're romantic, but they usually don't unmask it until later. And then and they pretty much hide the fact that they're like that. Okay? Now trust me, folks, if you have any questions, just let me know. I will leave my email in the description about me section, and you can email me if you have any questions. Okay, so here, let's see if I can get over here. I think, let's see. Okay, so abusive people are masters in disguise. So they're disguised. Most abusers are very disguisable. You won't see it at first. Just like I told you folks. You will not see that at first. They know exactly what to say to will you back in. Okay, so they'll tell you, oh, okay, so here's an example. They'll say, oh, I love you, and everything will be different. I'll change. That is to will you back in, okay, into their control. Now, we are going to get into the power and control will, but that's another video. So, um, they're going to will you back in by saying that they're sorry after they hurt you. They're going to apologize. They're going to will you back in. There's ways that they do it. This is how to convince you they have two sides and can even express their own shock or anger over Mr. Hyde's haunted behavior. That's not me, they might say. So they say that, yes. An abuser will say, well, that's not me. That's not really me. That's not who I am. So they will tell the victim that. So basically, that's what that means. Okay. Or they might blame trouble past. So they might, or cry in horror. So they might say, oh, well, I was abused in the past. And so they're going to say that they had stuff going on in the past. So basically, they're going to use that as an excuse. It doesn't excuse for pretty much, that's what they use. Crying in horror, I don't want to become like my parents. So basically, if the abuser is coming from an abusive home, which, you know, we'll get into that later, they will try to blame it on their parents. Because maybe at home when they were growing up, their dad was doing the same thing to the mom. So basically, it's a learned behavior. And it says here, and repeat what they did to me as a child. So basically, if they're either child abuse, same thing with child abuse. If they were a child and they were abused by a parent, that's pretty much a learned behavior, and that's why some batterers become batterers. And then usually most of the batteries that become batterers are in addictions like drug and alcohol, so that related. But it also can be their home environment as they were growing up as a kid. That's the way they were treated, so they think that's okay. Anything but take responsible for Hyde's actions. So they do not take responsibility for their actions. They will not own it to what they do about the way they, victimize the victim. They just won't. Okay, so let me see here. So I'll say it again, okay? There ain't two sides to them, okay? So there's no two sides to them, okay? Just to let you know, there are no two sides. There are one and the same. So they are the same person, okay? And they're responsible for both. So they're responsible for their actions either way. They are responsible. No one is responsible for your actions. You as a person are responsible for the actions. So they're responsible for their own actions, the batterers are. And then it says, I always say, watch not what they say, but what they do. So the good side is brilliant and saying everything you want to hear. So basically, they're going to tell you anything you want to hear. I love you, you're beautiful, you're sexy. They're going to feed you, I love you, I'm love you forever, this will never happen, etc., etc. And they pour out their love, so sometimes they'll shower you with gifts, tell you they're sorry, the whole ball of wax. Particularly after abuse accepted. Now, they only do that after they have abused you. That's the only time that the batterer will do that, is only after they abuse you, they will do that. They'll say they're sorry, it will never happen again, etc., etc. Okay, so this one says, but forget about this side or that side of them. Watch and they'll do. As I said in an earlier post, love is verbal, not now. The real person shows you who they are, no matter what they say. That is what matters the most. Ask yourself. Okay, so you're going to ask yourself. So basically, They're responsible. Just goes back to being responsible. Ask yourself. So if any of you folks out there are in a relationship, you need to ask yourself these questions, okay? So, do they treat me with respect? So do they treat you with respect? Do they speak in the way to others about me? Do they love me by caring about me and my well-being? So you got to ask yourself. It says here, it says, are they proud of me even in moments when I have success and they don't? So you got to know if your partner, if they're proud of you. If you're successful and they're not, they understand. They supportive. They're nice to you. They're nice to you. Very nice to you. You know, they don't talk bad about you. They're always complimenting you. They're polite to you. They still, again, they're very polite to you. They just will do anything and good to you. They're going to be more for your good being. So you have to ask yourself those questions. But like again, if you have any questions, I will leave my email at 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 the About Me section, and you can email me. Let me see. So let me scroll this down because I think I went too far here, folks. Oh. So when I realized the answer to these questions were all no for me, I knew I couldn't stay. I could have spent my life justifying the bad side of him forever, hoping for the good side to return and stay for good. So sometimes victims will justify their bad side, and they're hoping things will get better. But then they find out that things are not going to get better. It's just a common cycle. It's just it's a cycle, and you have to pretty much say enough is enough. Then I finally understood they were one and the same. Both sides were him all along. So both sides were him. If I had loved him unconditionally, that meant I had no right to change him. I had to accept him as he was, both good and bad. I finally saw him for who he was. He was Mr. Hyde, at times wearing Dr. Jekyll mask. He was responsible for his abusive behavior, just as I was for my own actions. We all are. But if he chooses to avoid that responsibility, then our relationship was no longer good enough for me. I drew a very ounce of strength, and I had and found the courage to leave. So basically, she pretty much knew her partner was just never going to change. He, wasn't taking responsible for his actions. So eventually, she just left, and that's pretty much that. That's pretty much what happens, folks, as they pretty much just leave. Okay, so are you finding it hard to reconcile two sides of your partner? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so basically, if you're finding reconciling two sides of your partner, just let me know if you have any questions. This is pretty much what Dr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll is. They're two sides of the person. They don't have two personalities. It's both sides of that person. That's how it is when you're in an abusive relationship. That's pretty much all, folks, today. And the next lesson will probably be on the will, but I'm not sure. I got to look at some of my things I want to do still. So if you like these videos and you like the info on these videos, then hit the subscribe button and thumbs up for like. Thank you, and you all have a nice evening.